Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. The Xbox has a bunch of weird exclusives that no one really remembers, a dumping ground for weird IPs that never took off, and Capcom would do just that with Group S Challenge, a racing game that would only come out on the Xbox and fade away into forgotten gaming history. Well, as we review every Xbox game here at Camp Xbox, it is my duty to check this one out, play through it, and give you a review. Let's do just that, and let me give you a little history as well. All footage was captured off of an original Xbox, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members, campers and camp counselors. Thank you for your support, and let's go ahead and hop into this one. By the early 2000s, and still to this day, Japanese publisher and developer Capcom were not really known for racing games. They had produced some here and there, but they really made a major one in 2002 with the release of Auto Modelista in Japan. It later saw an American PS2 release in early 2003, and that was a cel-shaded racing game that is a cult hit today. Yet it seems at the same time, while they were working on a stylized racing title, on the other end, Capcom was working on getting a simulation Gran Turismo-styled game too. I assume they had to have been worked on very close to each other, since online this game has been called the Modelista follow-up, but it's not really that. Sure, it came out after it, but it seemed Capcom saw it as the opposite end of the spectrum, and it had a completely different development team. Both were even promoted for an American release at the same time, with Modelista coming out in March of 2003 and Group S in November. At least in America. In Japan, it was planned for an August summer release. Though Modelista would be known, it seems Group S Challenge was kind of sprung on America. Titled Circus Drive in Japan, official Xbox Magazine would be a bit worried about this Xbox exclusive release because Capcom was doing almost no promotion for it. They had enjoyed it in previews and admired the graphics engine built from the ground up for the Xbox. It was developed by Digital Studio. Digital Studio is a company that's hard to get information on since they only made this game. Though it had some amazing people on the team, such as developers of Driving Emotion Type S from Square. Also, it had Yoshiki Akamoto, who has a long history in gaming from 1942 to Street Fighter to Dino Crisis. Yet, as I said, this game was barely promoted. Online outlets like IGN and GameSpot would run brief, simple articles on it, and magazines would present it, but as far as deep looks or insider information, that wasn't happening. It would end up getting a release as Circus Drive on August 28, 2003 in Japan, then it would come to Europe on September 26, and finally in North America on November 11th. I personally had never heard of this game till I started this channel. I played it for a bit for a past video, but not a full deep dive like I did recently. And let me tell you how my experience went, starting with the gameplay. When you load up Group S Challenge, you're hit with a very unassuming menu, presenting options, replay, arcade, and circuit modes. Get used to the simple menus like this because Group S Challenge is so simplistic that it feels like the bare minimum needed to push a game out. In this game, you get an arcade mode where you get a single player or multiplayer set of races. You can limit this down to racing all with one make or doing time trials alone. These are your basic racing affairs, and nice if you just need to get in a few races with all the tracks and cars unlocked. Replay mode on top of that will let you watch any previous race you have saved, though it doesn't allow you to change camera angles. Still, it's nice to have this here for people who enjoy rewatching their races, though that's not really my cup of tea. The actual main game here is circuit mode, and it's a fairly basic racing game. Here you get a set amount of money, and you get to pick from a whole slew of cars. There's a ton of makes and models for you to choose from in this game, it's surprising. You start with a weaker C-rank car, aiming to earn money to upgrade upgrade them with new parts and then eventually get new cars to get into the higher rank competitions and earn more money, with what I feel is the ultimate goal of owning every car, or at the very least beating the S-Class rank. Though there is an upgrade parts system, I found it to be pretty worthless. The parts selection is fairly basic, asking you to simply upgrade your tunes, suspension, brakes from a very small set of choices. The changes are fairly nominal, and I never felt it gave me any edge in races that buying a new car didn't, so really you should just be saving up money for new cars, unless you have a car that you absolutely need to drive with for personal reasons. Aside from this, you get 3 modes to race your cars in, and they all serve different purposes. The most substantial for money is the circuit mode, which is split between C, B, A, and S classes, each one giving you more money, but you will need better cars in order to win these. Each one is a set of 5 tracks that will never change, and early game requires you to grind out the same tracks over and over, so get used to them. Get used to all of these tracks, really, because there are only 20 tracks, and many of them are just small variations on one another. There are only 3 areas in this game: Morocco, Australia, and Shibuya, each one having short and long variations, along with reverse versions of that, and some with minor variations. So in reality, the tracks feel like repeats, and they really offer nothing in variety, which to me, driving games are all about seeing new places and new designs, as the core racing gameplay will remain the same. Though the driving in this game gets a ton of flack, which I never found it awful, but it's certainly not perfect. The handling overall is very loose. Turns are extremely wavy, and what I mean by this is that you won't feel steady in any car. It tends to oversteer, often ruining many runs in the process. Now, that's how I felt when I started it, and I give it leeway because you do learn how it plays. I was able to get used to it for the most part, but it certainly doesn't help the game, and it's not going to always feel perfect, and sometimes it will ruin a perfectly good race because the oversteering is baked in. Otherwise, accelerating, braking, and everything else is doing what a car game should. It's not overly simulation-like as it presents, but not quite arcadey either, which I think makes for a very unsatisfying system. I believe the physics engine is to blame here, as small things like hitting walls is very forgiving. Actually, I sometimes felt that hitting walls was beneficial to turns. If hit at the right angle, you can simply bounce off and still maintain a decent speed rather than braking before a turn. It's funny, but only because it's cheesy, and it's certainly not to be a main element in this game. Throw in that the AI is overly aggressive and will constantly ram you, and that does not help the physics engine at all. It's one of those racing games where nothing here stands out. It seems every element of the driving never manages to feel great, so there is no one saving grace in the gameplay mix. Certainly, I had fun racing in the courses when I got used to the game, but it's just not something that had me hooked, especially when you're playing on a console with so many other racers that feel tighter and more entertaining. Though I will add that this one does at least have steering wheel support, if you do want to try that out. Career mode also offers line mode, which takes you to a track and requires you to follow a line of dots. Each one adds up to your points, and also you want to beat it in a certain time limit to get a multiplier. You get a bonus for perfect scores, which will add to your total. This game mode is fine, but nothing worth going back to. It's just a glorified time trial, and with the slippery controls, it never feels right. You also get duel mode, which is more about unlocking cars. In this mode, you do 3 races with 3 different of your own cars. Each race is against one car though, and once you beat them 3 times, you earn their car, adding to your roster. I do think this was a fun addition, and in my opinion is this game's most entertaining hook because it works into the car collecting portion of the game, though it is the same basic tracks and control, so it really offers nothing quite new. That is it though, and this game is very basic. It's nothing special. It's a racing game lacking a lot of content, and the driving is fine at best, never feeling tight, and the physics are pretty bad. Not only that, but the menus are annoying because it constantly has pop-ups and text that you gotta scroll through, and it makes the game feel slow. Group S Challenge is just a weak package overall in the gameplay department and could have been so much better. The visuals are at least not a bad part of the experience, but not close to perfect. One thing they managed to get right is the car models. The models are well done, and there are a good number of them. There's solid detail across the board, and seeing them all race against each other is really nice, though there is zero destruction on them, which gives this game a little less detail than I wanted. The lighting is also good here, offering dynamic daylight, where sometimes you go into a race and it's darker and sometimes it's brighter. The way light is blocked by buildings and objects is really nice too, though I think the shadows on the cars could be better. The way they go across the car is a bit jagged and patchy. The city areas can be nice at times. I think for the most part, the dense city areas are good. There is a bit of pop-in though, but for the most part, the details have a nice density to make the courses feel full. Though there is a slight blurriness on some items, and some elements aren't as strong as others, such as trees, which I think look quite dreadful on the Xbox. Also, in line mode, there's a small effect that happens whenever you hit a dot, and it's quite distracting when playing in third-person mode. I'm not sure if that's a nitpick, but I really hated that. There are at least two other camera angles as well. There's a bumper view with a rear view mirror, and one that has a cinematic camera in the corner, which is a really bizarre camera mode that I kind of liked. Though one thing that is brutal here is the frame rate. This game drops frames often, and sometimes when there are around 3 cars on screen, this game chugs. It's a noticeable dip, and it ruins the pacing of the game. Racing games at least need a consistent frame rate, otherwise that sense of speed is not properly captured, and here it is not. The music in Group S Challenge is once again a hit or miss affair. It's a techno-heavy soundtrack and seems to be mostly focused on bassy songs. Some of them are nice with high drums, but generally they're a bit boring. Not bad, but never doing anything special, especially with any tracks that feature vocals, which I didn't really like. And I hate to say this because the composers here are Takashi Yanagawa, who worked on Shenmue, and Motohiro Kawashima, who worked on Streets of Rage. Two franchises with music that I adore, but this just felt really stock to me. The worst bit is this game features no custom soundtrack support, so you can't even substitute your own songs for in-game music, which is a huge negative, especially for an exclusive game on the Xbox. Xbox exclusives needed to capitalize on the important parts of the system, and the fact that you can't listen to your own music on an Xbox Racer is a huge problem. The stock noises go down to the engines and general car noises. Stuff like revving and squealing is all fairly stock, though that's just common with racers and certainly does not affect this game whatsoever. It is a bit loud in the mix, but that's easy to change in the options menus just by turning down the sound effects. So at least that is managed very well. Group S Challenge is just a mediocre racing game. I don't think it's miserable as some places online seem to think, but it's certainly not great by any means. The visuals for one sometimes shine, but other times are weak. The music is the same mixed bag with a lot of uninteresting tracks. The gameplay has a loose feel that you get used to, but limited track variety makes it hardly fun to roll through. Mix that together with a bare bones career mode, and altogether you have a racer with no pizzazz. The Xbox is full of amazing, interesting racers, and to see your way to the top, you at least had to do something interesting or fun. But this game is limp and tired. Truly a missed opportunity. Though not awful, it's nothing special, and in some ways, that's a lot more sad. I have now reviewed 130 games on the original Xbox, and Group S Challenge is entering in at number 118 on my ranking list. It goes above Triple Play 2002 because it has more replay factor. The controls of Triple Play made me feel like I could play any other baseball game. Group S Challenge is at least better than a few other racers that I've played on the console, giving it a small leg up. Turok Evolution is better though because it's far more interesting. Turok, despite its many flaws, at least has an interesting world and memorable gameplay that stuck with me, and that makes it stand out more in my mind. Group S Challenge came out to mixed reviews based on Metacritic, which has it at a 57 average. GameSpot would give it a 6.2, calling it decent but far too plain, noting that it needed a better online multiplayer to support Xbox Live, or at least a better offline multiplayer. Electronic Gaming Monthly would give it a 5, 6, and a 5. All echoed that there were many better racing games on the console, with one reviewer saying that this was just a thrown-together effort by Capcom. Official Xbox Magazine would be a bit kinder, giving it a 7.8 out of 10. They thought the handling was great and they enjoyed it more than Auto Modelista, but the graphics were poor and they hated that there was no variety in the tracks given. It's hard to say how much this game sold, but I can easily say that probably not many were. VG Charts estimates an extremely low 20,000 copies sold, which is crazy, but you gotta take that with a grain of salt. Yet online, no one talks about this game. It's pretty devoid out there of people who enjoy it, and most people who talk about it are quite negative on it. It gets brought up occasionally in my comments, but that's more as an Xbox oddity and one that many people have forgotten. After this, Digital Studio would quietly shut down, and then along with this game would fade into obscurity. If you look at user aggregate website backlogged, only 20 people have claimed to have played it, and it only has an average of 2.1 out of 5 on there, with the only 2 reviews other than mine on there being quite negative. Yet, let me know if you've ever played this one. I'd love to get a better lasting impact image in my mind of it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Everybody's opinion is important. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like as it really helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more videos like this, and check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more gaming videos that are not Xbox related. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.